So let's start with the webinar, with the questions. We have some questions for you. I'm gonna start asking a question to a specific panelist, but please, well, you are welcome, to complete, to yes, to criticize and just give your opinion about these questions. So, well, first, in the nearshore IT services global context, and this is for Angeles. You are the first one, Angeles. How do you think is nearshore similar and different from offshore? I mean, I want you to explain a little bit, what does it mean? What is nearshore and what is offshore? Because that can be pretty confusing.
Yes, pretty, and at the same time is with this definition, it's gonna be a little more. More clear for everybody. And I love this model and this term because it refers, or it's focusing, the nearshore is focusing in Mexico. That's why I love this term. Nearshore refers to your partner, to your outsourcing partner, but it's very close to you, almost is your neighbor. It's in a very short distance close to you. So you have a lot of benefits if you have a neighbor very close to your office, to your business. And what is the difference between this kind of partner that you have very close to you with a partner that you have in the offshore model? The offshore model is a partner that is in another country, usually overseas, in the other part of the ocean. So it has also its benefits, but it is not as close to you as the nearshore partner. And I am going to give you some benefits. Right now, I know that with the help of the technology, even the offshore, the nearshore, right now in this moment, you are going to be able to work remotely because you have all the technology to take advantage of this kind of supervision for your partner solutions, the development, etc. But in the middle term or in the short term, they are going to be better if you have a nearshore partner. And I have here some figures. According to Statista, the market size of the outsourcing industry has been outstretched from $45.6 billion in 2000 to $85.6 billion in 2018. And right now it's increasing because all of this pandemic. So it is going to be more benefits if you have this kind of partner than usual. At the same time, the global IT outsourcing market earned $85.6 billion, which is a sure sign of steady positive growth in the industry. And I am going to give you some pros and cons of all of these forms that I am talking about. The offshore indicates that the company you hire is in another country with a different zone. And maybe it can give you, this gives you a better cost because they are in another part of the world. And maybe you sometimes can have while you are taking rest, they are working, and while they are taking rest, you are working in this part of the world. So you have a continuously matter to work for this for several projects. And but the nearshore refers to your outsourcing partner, and is very close to you. And this closely proximity gives you benefits too, because they, in this case, talking about Mexico, we have the same culture in business. I mean, we are, and sometimes we are in the same time zone, very close. Here, for example, in Monterrey, we are very close to the border, less than two hours from here to the border. So if you need something from your supplier, you can take even the car and you are with them, and you can supervise, you can have the same community. You don't have barriers in the community because you are in front of them, and you can have this equal culture, the culture that you want to have in your business model, you can give to them. So I know that I don't have, because I have a lot of information, because I love this model, and I want to give you more advantages for the nearshore. The time zone differences are reduced. In some cases, it's the same, because if you are talking about all the part of Texas, we are in the same time zone. But if you want to go to Chicago, if you want to go to California, I mean, the difference is it's very little. Yes, 2 hours or more or less. Is the labor, the cost of the labor is cheaper than if you have the company in the US. We have minor cultural difference, but not significant. I mean, talking about business, we have the same information, the same communication. It's very easy if you have a project that you have for a company, your client is a company that is established, is located in the United States, and you want to communicate something, you want to do something, is the same way that you communicate with a Mexican company. You give the NDA that you have in your own company, American company, and the Mexican company is going to absorb this NDA and give it to the project that they are developing with you, and making it easier to visit, resulting in a more effective working relationship. And only to close this definition, the concept of nearshore was first coined by Softtek, that is the most important company in software development world, in 1997, as they began to do work with their first US clients. So they talk about what is this model? What can we improve this model? The concept began to gain ground during 2002, from 2002 to 2003, as Softtek and the Mexican government at that time began marketing the concept more aggressively. The broad market now identifies nearshore with primarily Canada and Mexico for the US market. So the term has also new evolved to describe any outsourcing location near to its primary market. For example, in other parts of the world, Eastern Europe with Western Europe, etc. But the concept of this thing began here in Mexico with this Mexican company. And that's the advantages of the nearshore and the offshore. That I want you to understand that is the best option for the nearshore, that is almost a part of your business, is very close to you with the same everything, and the best option, of course, is Mexico.
Thank you, Angeles. I just want to share, and I just want to add that I was part of the first 10 persons that Softec brought to US.
Okay.
So I was
This is
totally,
history here.
yeah, I mean, but at that time, that was totally new.
Okay.
For Softec, and so we were working for General Electric at New York, and they show us how to do this now nearshore concept development. So that was very, very exciting. It really teach me a lot.
There are white papers about the model, the form that they have been improving through the years. But I mean, the concept started here in Mexico with this Mexican company, and it was a very important model that maybe you have the advantages and disadvantages, but it's a model that has been very successful in all over the world. So congratulations, I didn't know that. But it's
okay. Well, now I have a question for Guillermo. Of course, this is going to complement what Angeles has been saying. What do you think US companies are moving their offshore teams to the nearshore services or nearshore concept, or how do you call it?
Yeah,
nearshore phenomenon.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a number of different reasons. Basically, the U.S. buyer is a global buyer. It's probably different than other regions in the world, that they are basically buying services locally, and the U.S. Buyer getting access to the whole world to find the right service, the right talent, the right time, the right cost. That makes the nearshore versus offshore kind of a very interesting business case. So basically, the companies are moving from offshore to nearshore because all the benefits that Angeles already talked about regarding the benefits of nearshore. I would say that being close, the convenience to travel. I mean, probably not right now because of the pandemic, but the convenience to travel, the capacity that you can find in Mexico. I mean, capacity being the amount of people you can find that can work in your project. Of course, the capabilities, all the skill sets that the people in Mexico have. So basically, you can come closer and staff up your project, your company, your service in the U.S. So the most important concept of nearshore versus offshore, I think, is convenience. You don't have to wake up at the 3 o'clock in the morning to catch your team overseas, and it's very interesting, because in the end, the people who's working day to day with the teams of software development teams, they are humans too, and they have to sleep, and they have families, and they have a social life. So it's not sustainable to keep working with a team that is in the other side of the world. So that's, in my opinion, that's a very, very important. But of course, if you're working in the other side of the world and it's working out, you need to keep working with that team. But the problem sometimes is that the business continuity, for instance, in this pandemic, is not there. So we realized through the pandemic that in Mexico, we have good internet connections, we have good computers at home, we have a good place at home to work, the kind of a proper home office area. So we realized, I mean, we knew already, but in the pandemic kind of put more accent on this benefit. That is that overnight, we were working from home with zero disruption for our clients. So it's not the same thing in other parts of the world. where they had to spend weeks, literally weeks, and sometimes even months to come up with a good business continuity plan for the clients in the US, because I mean, the people, they cannot go to the office, they don't have laptops, they don't have a good internet at home, they don't have a good environment at home to keep working. So the BCP, or the business continuity plan, was very, very important in Mexico, and it was not very obvious before, because we didn't have to work from home. We could work from home before, but we didn't have to. And now with the pandemic, that we had to work from home, it was very obvious that we had everything we needed to work from home. So that's a very important thing. But again, the way that software development is made these days requires proximity, requires a lot of collaboration, requires a lot of, the developer has to be a person who is a very good technical guy, but also he can communicate well with the client. He's a customer facing guy who can explain what is he working on. He can explain what the roadblocker is, or what help he needs from the client. So that's a very important skill sets, I mean, hard and soft skills that you can find in Mexico. So the market in the US, the clients in the US, they're realizing that it's much easier to work nearshore than offshore. And if you add that one of the benefits of nearshore is the time zone. And that's great. I mean, being working in the same time zone is great. But in terms of geographical proximity, I mean, going to some cities in South America is as long as going to Madrid or London or Paris. So it's not close by any means. So if you need to meet with your team, and you need to be familiar with your team and stretch, to create bonds with your team, it's going to be very hard to do it if you are literally in the other side of the world, but instead west and east, I mean, north and south. So that's where Mexico becomes a really good option. I mean, yes, Softec coined this term of nearshore, but all Latin America kind of started using the term to describe these benefits of same time zone. And the reality is that the country that can kind of have more advantage of that benefit of nearshore is only Mexico. Because I mean, from here to San Antonio is 1.5 hours flight. From here to Houston is two and a half probably. From here to Dallas, the same. So I think that all the benefits of nearshoring, that's the reason why a lot of companies move from offshore to nearshore, and even more now in the pandemic. So I would say even more. I mean, probably Mexico is not even nearshore; it's no shore. As far as I know, there's no shore between Mexico and the U.S. So
Yes.
I think it's a north shore, no shore destination for software development. So Mexico has a unique position in the world to service the U.S. market.
Well, thanks, Guillermo. Before we go to the next question, I just want to add that by the time that we were the first people doing nearshore, at US, working for Softec, the Americans couldn't understand how was the infrastructure in Mexico. They couldn't imagine that. So we were like, oh yes, we use shoes for walking, and we use cars, and we have light, and we have energy. So we started inviting them to visit Mexico. And when they came to Mexico, well, they went to Mexico, they were like, oh, wow, this is amazing. These are beautiful offices. You have everything. So it just reminded me that by that time, that was the impression. Of course, it has changed a lot, but still, I invite you all to get to know much more what you can find at Mexico. And changing to other benefits, I have a question. We have a question from Ismael Abrego. He's our secretary at TechMex right now. And he's saying, additionally to time zone and geographical location, what is the competitive advantage of Mexican companies versus offshore based in India? And I will let Eduardo to give us your answer. And I just want to add about if you can also talk about the legal advantages.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mara. So yeah, to answer the question that was placed on the chat, I don't think there's just one competitive advantage. I think it's a group of advantages altogether, right? As Angeles and Guillermo already spoke about. I think the biggest one Guillermo mentioned, I mean, at Impact or even any Mexican company, Nearshore, it's really good to have a in-person meeting. And in software projects, many times there's something that happened, a kickoff meeting or something going in production environment, or you just need to be on site with the client. And being in Monterrey or being in Guadalajara, Mexico City, any major city in Mexico, you can be in Texas, California, New York in matter of 2 hours, 3 hours tops, right? Speaking of Monterrey, I've driven to Austin and I can be there in 5 hours driving, or I can be in San Antonio in 45 minutes flight, right? So that's one competitive advantage that is really valued by US customers, right? Number two is time zone. I mean, the customers or project managers on the client side, they don't have to worry about what's happening as your developers are working, right? If you're sleeping and there was a miscommunication happen with the offshore team, then they derail from the requirements or from whatever they have to deliver, and you wake up with bad news, right? That they work on something they shouldn't have worked on, and being in the same time zone, you're just another team in a different office, right? I mean, we've even have had like webcams, so we can have like a continuous feed of your team in Monterrey, so they feel they're part of the same company, right? So that's number two. And I think number three, Monterrey, Guadalajara, Mexico City, we host, or I mean, we have the top, I can say top 10 colleges in Latin America for technical degrees. Monterrey Tech, ITESM, or Technology Institute of Monterrey, here in Monterrey, and campuses all over the nation. And all other colleges, right? I think we have 40 different degrees in Mexico that Mexico colleges are graduating thousands of engineers. And one of the mandatory things right now for most of the colleges, it's bilingual proficiency. And that's just a de facto default skill you need to have, right? So to answer that question again, I don't think it's just one competitive advantage. It's the group of everything that makes Nearshore unique compared to offshore, right? And yeah, and of course, delivery. I mean, delivery, quality, delivering success, delivering common sense. I mean, rather than hiding failures, hiding miscommunications, that speaks a lot of Mexican companies. Any company that can be trusted by the actions matter more than words. You're gonna have the trust of the US client, right? So yeah, I think that answers that question. And going to the legal side and infrastructure components of Mexico for Nearshore, and I think Guillermo touched on this a little bit. Mexico, any major city, well, I can say major or non-major city, we have really good ISP providers for residential or business internet connections, either business grade as in shared connection or just dedicated connections to your office. At Impact, we have right now the office it's vacated. Everybody's working from home. But yeah, we have a dedicated connection with static IPs. We can configure VPNs to each of the clients that they require us to be under a VPN. And what a VPN makes is that we're just part of their network, right? We're in their local area network. We have their same IPs. So even though we're in Monterrey, I mean, we're part of their office, right? We're just an extension, maybe to a different street address, different country, and that's it. And funny fact is, whenever we're trying to sell a project, I tell our prospects the only difference with Sympath, and I can say any other nearshore company like a Texic or DYCSI, it's our English accent, right? We have a thick accent, and we're not Native American speakers. Or other than that, you won't see any disruption, or in other words, it's going to be a seamless integration to your team, right? Now the legal aspects, I'm not expert in legal aspects. I know what I've read on the news or blog posts or whatnot in the past years. With the new what is called the USA and Canada, US, Mexico and Canada agreement, right? There were portions of the agreement that spoke about the legalities of exchanging data and non-disclosure agreements and all that. I think a key point to give a certainty to a US customer is that your nearshore company has to have presence in the US, a legal entity, right? They like dealing with a LLC or incorporate entity rather than SADCV or SRLSV, like the counterpart of the Mexican entity, right? I think if you have that first and foremost gives them certainty that they're gonna get a US invoice, they're gonna get a US tax ID, and they don't have to deal with exchanging money with Mexico and exchange rates and this and that. I mean, that gives a lot of certainty. Yeah, so I don't think there's any limitations with Mexico and US and Canada to exchange data. I mean, for the most part, I think what can really fix this, or not fix this, but help with this, it's number one, US legal entity. Number two, your non-disclosure agreement should be signed between your company and your client, and also you have to have a strict NDA with employees or team members, okay? And also when you're interviewing to grow your team, do background checks and make sure to check for those traits of trustworthiness and making sure they have good values and they're up for the challenge to serve a different country, right? A different idiosyncrasy, and just learn from that market, right? And yeah, I mean, that's what I can share about that. And I don't know if that complements the question you had, Mara.
Oh, yes,
I can weigh in a little bit, Mara, on the legal side. I mean, for the U.S. clients, is very important. I mean, compliance is very important, and we are perfectly companies in Mexico, and I think what Eduardo mentioned is key, to have a legal presence in the U.S. and being able to work with a back-to-back contracts with the Mexican entity and the Mexican employees. So all the route from the employee to the customer has to be very pristine and very clear how the legal contracts are made. So in Mexico, the Mexican companies, we are perfectly able to do that, and also perfectly able to comply with all the regulations in the US. For instance, if you're working for healthcare, you need to comply with HIPAA. If you are working in a financial sector in the US, you need to comply with PCI. So all the compliance that the US companies need, you can find that in Mexico, and Mexican companies with this back-to-back relationship with the US legal entity, we're perfectly able to comply with all the regulations that you are looking for the US market, unless there's a specific requirements from the US government, for instance, to work only with citizens. For instance, there are some projects that they need to work only with the US citizens. That's perfectly understandable. But other than that, specific requirements for the government, most of the projects, even with government, even with immigration, even with a lot of parts in the US government, they can work with companies in Mexico if all the legal route is very well taken care of.
Yeah, and another thing to add on the legal aspect, Mara and Guillermo, for it to add on to this answer, it's Mexico has a B1 visa, a tourist and business visa, right? So it's it's really common for any college graduate to be able to get access to a visa to travel to the States. And many things, and I've seen this in the US, or US people thinking, what if they come with a travel visa and they are working in my facilities? So that the B1 visa that Mexico has with the US allows any user or any Mexico citizen to travel to the US for business matters. That doesn't mean that they can get paid or be hired in the US as an employee. But if you travel to the US up to 3 or 6 months, I'm not sure, you can have business meetings, you can be on site working at a client facility, and I mean that just adds another convenience to compared to offshore, right? Where it's 24 hours to come from India to the States. It's the travel restrictions and the visas is not as easy to as the one we have here in Mexico, right? So it's a misconception that any person with a visa cannot come to the client facility to work. Yes, they can. I mean, it's just as a consultant, right? Not as a full-time employee. They cannot be hired with those kind of visas. For that, we have the NAFTA visa. I don't know if it's still called NAFTA visa or not. But yeah, that's another topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will have another webinar to talk about that. That is very, very interesting. Well,
just to finish, Guillermo, have you patented that no-shore term already?
Not yet. I mean, just use it. Just use it and help me out just using that. I mean, there's no shore. I mean, just take a look at the map. There's no shore between you.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Cool.
That's right.
Thank you.
Well, our next question is for Tere. Tere, I have this question for you. Imagine that I am a CEO or a CDO. What are some of the most important things that I need to evaluate when looking for a long-term nearshore partner?
Well, first of all, I think you need to review how big is the company that you are that you want to hire for your to provide services. You need to know if they have all the capability or capacity to attend your requirements. For example, if you have a very high rate of requirements or changes on your IT processes, then you need a proper team, a big team to help you with that. Another thing would be how many years or the experience of this company, if the consultants or developers are experienced too, and how quickly can you, how flexible they are on the schedules, right? Because we were talking about the time zone, which is very close. I mean, maybe we can have just 1 hour of difference or something like that, which can be arranged to provide the service that they need. If you want to hire a nearshore company, those are the main things that you need to look up. And for example, yes, if you need to have also someone there to help you to manage the team, someone you can contact easily, that's also a very big important thing to do. So you need to make sure that there is someone else backing you up so they can manage the team, and also the team needs to be, have all the expertise required for these services. Obviously, you need to know also how many, let's say, type of talent do you need. For example, you might just need developers because you have people that understand the process, IT people on your side, and they can provide these requirements for the developers. Or maybe you need to, or you want to outsource that work to, and then you have to take a deep look of what is this company offering you. Do they offer only development? Do they offer also consultants that know the processes and all of this? All of this is very important for you if you are looking for a very long-term partnership with Nearshore. Also, something important is like what is backing this company in the sense of, are they certified partners of the technology you are using? In our case on SAP, you have SAP certifications at DYCSI, so you need to also take a look at that, the partnerships they have. And I don't know, also take a good look, as they mentioned before, on the legal side, what are the contract clauses, or even another thing that you can have is like service level agreements. How quickly can they respond if you have a very urgent issue on production environment? So if you really need something to be fixed, you also need like agree on that with your partner. Let's say if it is very urgent, I need you to take a look at least in the first hour and let me know if this can be fixed or not, or something like that. That's a very important part too. And well, if you, for example, start with a rate of regular requirements, let's say you have a medium requirement rate monthly, but for some reason you need projects to be handled by this Nearshore, then you need to know that this partner is going to be able to bring more people to help you with this new project. And that will be also very helpful for you as you need to be, you rely on this partner for all these, let's say, fixes or services. So you need to analyze internally first, what do you need right now? What do you need for the future? And based on that, you can review all this stuff with the partner. That's mainly what I suggest you to do. And I don't know if that answers your question, or you have more questions.
Yes. I don't know if somebody else wants to add something.
Yeah, sure. Well, Eduardo, go ahead.
Well, I'll go ahead first. Yeah, and I think one of the things that has shown success for us, it's offering not just the service of we have programmers that can write code, but also, I mean, we understand the bigger picture of that client needs, right? Sometimes that the client thinks they need such and such A and B and C for their project or their business process, but being able to consult them as when you go to a doctor, they consult you on what you have, right, and what the medicine you need to take. So also as consultants, it's really different than just being a programmer, right? So being able, showing that expertise of being able to take a deep dive into your business process and offer you a solution that might be more cost effective and suitable for longer term. I think that's been key for Sympath to our success, right? Being able to be consultants and train our team members to be a consultant, not just a programmer. I mean, programming I'm always the less experienced in that room when I'm with the team members, but I try to coach them on to how to be better consultants, better communication skills, better understanding of the problem, and just not focusing on that particular button they want to fix, but the bigger picture, right? If you fix the button in this different way, maybe they can save more money, right? And that's going to be appreciated by the client.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Tere and Eduardo, they both spot on the topic. I think that I would put it in these words. I mean, what the client is looking, and I'm talking about every client, is to find a trusted partner. They are looking for trust. And I want to stress out this concept of trust is what is driving the businesses. If you want to keep a relationship for a long time, you need to start building the trust, and you cannot ask for the trust. You need to build it. So you are to build the trust, and if you prove yourself, and if you are transparent, effective, you communicate well, you are owning the client problem, and you want to fix it, then you start building this trust through the years, and eventually the client will trust in you. That's it. It's as simple as that. Simple between quotes because it's not easy. I think that trust is very hard to build and very easy to destroy. So you need to be very consistent. You need to be very kind of a long-term with long-term vision, and not to try to win everything at the first day, but to build this trust. So that's to me is the winner concept. I mean, trust and build trust with your clients.
And I want to add, if you have this trust, if you build it, you are going to have this commitment between the client and the supplier. And because you have to build this commitment with your client, with its client that is yours. Right now, you have this agreement with this client. It is going to be your client at this moment too. So you have to be, as I said, the same NDA. At the moment that you choose correctly this supplier in this nearshore model, it is going to be the same NDA between you and your client and their client. So it is going to be this commitment for the short and medium and long term, as Guillermo said. That it's very, very important. And there are a lot of characteristics that you have to say. One of them is, of course, this clear communication, content-speak communication. This is not going well. What do we have to do? Very clear, very effectively. So you are going to have this relationship in long term. And you can find this kind of companies here in Mexico, of course.
Great. Well, I just want to share about these advantages and barriers or misunderstandings that we have. And Victoria Frey-Senior, another member from TechMex, is commenting, sometimes they don't know a lot about infrastructure, or they think, I mean, referring to the Americans, or they think there is a language barrier. There is not. People working in IT companies or other high-tech sectors in Mexico, they speak English. We speak English, or at least we try. So that is very important. And also the cultural aspect between Mexicans and Americans, we might not be the same, of course. We don't have the same culture, but at least they know how the Mexican culture is. So it's much more easy to have like a business analyst working with an American client and understanding their needs than to have people from other countries. It's really.
Yeah, I think that the cultural affinity, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, just think about it. I mean, in Mexico, we all are crazy with the football. I mean, American football, and you know, most of Mexicans, we used to go to the U.S. for vacations, and we have the same TV series. We have the same. I mean, if you ask a Mexican where the steering wheel is in the car, I mean, we're going to say the same. If you ask the same question to an American, try doing that with I don't know, in India. So that kind of a details and the way we can interact in a cultural level is very, very important. But in the end, and I'm totally aware of that, in the end, it's about capability and the ability to grow. So capability and capacity. And people doesn't realize that the people in general, they don't realize that Mexico is a huge country, 130 million people. I mean, Colombia is 50 million, Argentina is 50 million, Costa Rica is 5 million. Costa Rica, the country is as big as Guadalajara, the city. So, we're a big country with a huge infrastructure, with a lot of universities, with a lot of students, with a lot of graduates. We are the right partner to service the U.S. market.
Yes, and Alma also from TechMex is adding that don't forget that almost 25% of the population in US is Latinos, Latinx, Latinos and Latinas. So
Right.
yeah, we must have a lot of cultural overlapping there. Well, I don't know if you want to, let's see, share, and this is for everyone, how have you been able to handle these COVID times? Is this been an opportunity? Is this been a battle, or how is it looking for you?
I want to start.
Yeah. So,
Sorry. I want to tell you the vision of a cluster, because we have in the cluster a lot of companies in the IT area.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, it was very hard because we didn't know what was going to be the vision. Everything was very, very difficult. I mean, you can see I mean, you were in March, and you say, I don't know what is going to happen in April for the industry, for my company, whatever. And even for the cluster, it was a very difficult time. But with this virtuality, everything was changing. And for us, all of this pandemic became a very good thing, because all our activities, even the business model, I mean, meetings between companies from the US, from Canada, even from Argentina, and we have a delegation from Castilla-La Mancha that is in Spain, and from País Vasco. Everything was virtual. So that's what a benefit for our company, because we started to have a different kind of doing business. Very different, but it was effectively for us. So I know that, as Guillermo said, it is going to be changing. I know in the short term, I'm sure, I hope so. But right now, since the pandemic started, it is going to be a very good thing for us, because we could be connecting with the rest of the world. So we have a lot of meetings with different companies from overseas. So for us, we had to take advantage of this situation for our companies. That's something good for us.
I think Guillermo or Eduardo or Tere, somebody wanted to share. How is your COVID adventure looking?
yeah. So for Simpat, yeah, similar to what Angela said, we didn't know what we were getting into as worldwide, right? Any industry, any company was just not knowing what was going to happen in terms of business continuity, in terms of clients' budget, in terms of your team members, right? So the first thing we did was to assemble the whole company and just put a COVID-19 plan, right? So no trips were going to be made, no changes on the team size or salaries was going to be made. We're going to take other more conservative expenses just to make sure we were financially, we didn't know what was going to happen with projects, right? What I can say that 8 months apart, Simpat was able to seamlessly continue working with projects. We have acquired a couple of new clients during the pandemic, and added or increased our project capacity with other clients or other partners. We call them partners. So yeah, there was a slowdown in business, but then it's starting to climb up again. Guillermo was saying he's been traveling to the States 3 times now since May, and it's business as usual almost in the US. So yeah, what lessons we were taught for us? is that we were prepared to be a virtual company overnight, and similar to what Guillermo said, and I'm sure Teresa with DYCSI, they had to adapt just like that overnight. And I think it was an advantage of being in technical or tech industry compared to other ones that they suffer. So we were grateful about that. And what looks ahead, or what's looking ahead for us, it's slowly asking whoever wants to come back to our office to work on site. There's going to be an office for SIMPAD. Whoever feels working remote more safe, they're going to be able to work remote as long as they want. I think that whenever there's a safe vaccine and a safe medicine for COVID-19 or SARS, COVID, yeah, that name, that's where it's gonna be a cutoff date for a turning point again for the company and for the industry.
Perfect.
In my experience, in our experience, we demonstrated that we could keep the business going for our clients. We had really a bad May, June, but after that, I mean, I wouldn't say everything is normal in the U.S., but at least in Texas, I can feel that things are speeding up again. And in general, our clients, they have kind of a constrained demand of services because they were being kind of a very cautious at the beginning of the pandemic too. So they were saving cash, which is the right decision. And now that they realize that probably their businesses are not being hit as the way they thought 6 months ago, now they are kind of resuming all the projects and they need to speed up because they are 6 months delayed. So now they are kind of trying to catch up with all the things they have to do, and we are a perfect good option for them because we are up and running the same way we were up and running on March 16, that it was the first day that we sent everyone home last March. So yeah, things are picking up.
Great. Yeah. So all the problems, you have to turn them in opportunities, right? So our last question is if you can give an advice to other Mexican companies who are interested in working with the US. But I want to add to this question a couple of questions that are related. One is from Victor Gonzalez, and it says, how do you close your first deal with a US client? Because at the beginning, before the trust, they don't believe in Mexican companies. And the other question that is also related is from Emmanuel Bernal, and it says, could you please talk about the things to take into account for getting leads in US? What should be the approach of a sales team? What are your recommendations for local sales? So, well, basically, what are your advices? And also, if you can focus them on the sales and this trust creation, or what are the first steps that you recommend to these Mexican companies who are willing to do nearshore with US companies?
I want to start with these recommendations. We have to learn to adapt to each other. I mean, it's certainly that we are a very similar culture, but the reality is also that we are different, and we have a different business culture here, and we need to adapt to the American culture. It's maybe it's a joke, but the reality is that we have to be prepared for the meetings, to be prepared to do business with an American company. We have to create a friendly environment in the business way, because it's true that it's true, and it's sadly the comment that one person said that sometimes they don't believe in the Mexican companies. But we have everything to be prepared. The only thing is that we have to plan. We have to, this is very important, and Guillermo said many times, we have to be very clear effectively in our communication, because sometimes we're going to have problems because it's a real world, but we have to be clear and don't hide situations. We have, it's the confident, we have to overcome the language barrier, because some people said also that the language could be a barrier, but if you permit, but it's not a barrier, because all of here in this room, we are Mexican, but we try to speak English, and it's not a barrier. Have confidence in yourself, and this is a joke, but be punctual. This is very important, to be punctual in the meetings, in our lives, in the commitments that we have as a company, and we have an effectively result. So these are my advices for my dear Mexican community that we are here in front of them.
Yeah, and I think what Angel is saying in summary is action speaks louder than words, right? If you're gonna say you're gonna deliver your project by such and such date, you better deliver by that date, or you let the client know beforehand, way beforehand, there's a change coming, right? But don't hide that change, right? Don't give a bad surprise to your client, and be on time for meetings, be on time for everything. So yeah, action speaks louder than words. And to answer Victor's question about how to get your first deal with a U.S. client. So it's no joke or unknown that it's gonna be hard to get a first deal if you don't have a presence in the U.S. If you're a new company or a new company trying to sell to the U.S. But it's gonna be hard. But once you get it, it's gonna you better commit to your values and deliver value. And again, action speaks louder than words. And it might be a small deal where it's just going to be a part-time position for one developer or for one consultant. But yeah, that was for Simpa. For Simpa, our first deal was, our first invoice was $400. The first invoice we submitted to a client, right? But after that client is still with us after 4 years. And I can say that the services we provide to them it's a larger capacity, right? Why? Because since we were just a 2-person with 1 team member, we kept to our commitments and values, and it's been growing like a snowball, right? That if the CEO of that company has other CEO folks or friends, we've been referenced to other companies, and large part of our growth has been referrals, word of mouth, not word of mouth like, hey, Simpa this or that, but hey, Simpa deliver on this tight schedule project compared to this onshore company, Austin based, at a 50% discount on price, cost effective, and yeah, it's gonna be like snowball. But how to get the first deal? Our first deal was a deal posted on a website for freelancers and contractors, and we grew that company larger. That account larger, sorry.
And I think that something very important is that you cannot sell remotely. If you don't put, Victor, you were saying, you don't have the trust. Yes, you don't have the trust because you haven't worked with that company, but you can build a little bit of trust by being there. Nobody will buy in the US from a company, or at least in this sector, and based on my experience, I don't want to sound kind of that I know everything, but in my experience, the client needs to see that you are putting some skin on the game. and having presence in the US and investing in having that presence in the US is putting skin on the game. And that is building a little bit of trust. You close that deal, as Eduardo is saying. I mean, don't pick and choose. Just close it. Just get the first deal you can get, and then use that great experience to ask for your clients for referrals. Yesterday I was talking to my partner in Austin, and we were talking about how important is the networking activity in the US. Most of our clients are referrals and people we met in a networking event. So networking is absolutely key. Probably in this sector, probably is even better than the typical marketing and lead generation and things like that. I mean, for us, is something that you need to talk to a person face to face. And those clients are the best. I mean, we have been working with them for 6, 7, 8 years. And what Eduardo and his partner Ashish, they are doing in the US and Monterrey, in my opinion, again, is exactly the way to do it. You know, having a local presence in the US and having a very strong team in Mexico, that's the perfect combination. If you do that, you won't fight, you won't fail.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the brand, I mean, that builds up a brand, right? Even when you're a small little flag like we were 4 years ago, I mean, not to say that we're big right now, but I mean, I can speak about Itexico when I even got a HR reach out 8 years ago so I could interview for Itexico, but I've been following Itexico, and Itexico equals quality, right? So I know Itexico equals quality, and I cannot say the same for other brand names, for other nearshore companies, right? So why? Because I mean, Austin, speaking of Austin, Austin is a small little town. At the end of the day, everybody knows each other, and every company knows each other. So your brand will be a selling key point if you build up a brand from your first, I mean, right from your first project. And I hope Simpar it's growing or walking to that goal of being a well-reputed company, and I think it's been working out. It's okay to say no sometimes. We've said no to projects. We've said no to technologies we're not expert at, and we rather say no rather than to get some extra revenue and then have a bad reputation because we were not able to deliver, right? So yeah, no, it's sometimes a yes for the future.
Tere, do you want to share?
I wanted to ask Tere. I didn't want to hijack this question.
Yeah, no worries. Well, it's basically the same thing that you were mentioning about being punctual, about not hiding things. To be honest with them is very important for them. It's very valuable. Also, on this line of honesty, if for some reason you don't match exactly at the beginning with them, also be prepared to receive this honesty from them, and in regards of what you need to improve, what you did well, but also what you need to correct or to do better for them. And that's we go back again. This is a very an advantage of Mexico, the flexibility of the people, and always that spirit to help the US customer, and that's my add to these comments.
Perfect. Before we end, and related with these advices, I just want to share three things. One is related with the communication. If the client asks you one, you have to deliver one. You don't deliver 2 or 3 because they ask you one. That is very important because that proves the maturity that you are understanding what they need. And I mean, of course you can give added value and and give more, but they also want to know that you are getting that they want one and not two. And also, if they ask you, please, this is a very cultural issue with Mexicans. If they tell you the meeting is at 2, the meeting is at 2. Not 2 and 1 minute, not 2 and 5 minutes. The meeting is at 2. So those are very detailed things that really can make that change and really can create that trust in you. And there was another thing that I wanted to mention. I forgot. Well, I think that's it. That is what I wanted to share.
No, you know, Mara, to me it's a little bit embarrassing to talk about that because, to be honest,
I know it is for me too.
It's also in Mexico. In Mexico, I mean, I've been in business for 22 years. I mean, the first years I was selling basically to Mexican clients, and you have to have open communication, clear communication. You need to be on time. You need to respond faster. In business, you cannot use ahorita. So to me, the same professional behavior that you have in your professional life is the same. I mean, I'm expecting exactly the same to start working with US clients. I mean, they're not asking anything different or additional than a Mexican client in that sense. I mean, they're expecting you to keep your word and do what you said you will be doing, and that's it. I mean, there are a couple of things in the language side that I invite the audience to take a look at, because, for instance, question is not the same as doubt. I mean, I don't know, commitment is not the same as compromise. So we have very important differences in some cognates they're called. I mean, I invite you to review that concept of a false cognates, words that seems to be the same, but they are absolutely different. So
yes, and they are key. They are key for your. Yeah.
Imagine you're telling the customer that you have a doubt about a project. They will say, "Why you have a doubt? You might have a question. I mean, you want to clarify something, but if you have a doubt, probably I don't need you in the team because you are having doubts about my project. So I want committed people, and I don't want to compromise my project, but people to be committed to my project. So again, I think we need to put more attention in general, but in terms of the work culture, I think we're very, very close to the US market, because even if you are servicing the Mexican market, you need to be professional. And professional here in Mexico means exactly the same as professional in the US, in my opinion, again.
Yes, and I'm not saying that we cannot do that. I was just giving that advice, to Mexican companies, because probably for the very first time when they work with Americans, they get confused. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was about this negotiation time. Mexican companies are used to go back and forward, go back and forward, We spend a lot of time negotiating. We spend a lot of time talking. We are not direct in our messages. And Americans are not like that. They are very focused, very direct. And this is a good news for the people that are in sales, because if you ask a client if they want something, they're going to come back to you and let you yes or no. And that's it. Yes, no. And with Mexican companies, we are used to, oh, let me see, I'll let you know, but what if, let's go and have dinner and talk about it. And then, so your sales process is much bigger, longer than the process that you can have with an American company.
Yeah, well, but also an experience. I mean, in my experience, you need to start learning how to read some expressions in the US. For instance, if a customer or a prospect is telling you, oh, I'm having second thoughts about this, and you're done. I mean, stop. I mean, just go in a different direction. So, I mean, and the literal translation that estoy pensando en otras cosas, so I don't know how you translate that, but I mean, probably it gives you, it's giving you some hope, and no, there's no hope. I mean, what he's telling you is that I mean, he's moving in a different direction. And anyway, so I think that there are some differences, but a lot of similarities on the customer relationships and the professional ethics or work ethics. I would say, just be professional. I mean, that's it. The same way you are professional in Mexico, you be professional in the US, because if not, I mean, you will not build the trust.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, one thing we say at Simple is that technical skills can be taught and perfected, and soft skills can be just perfected. When we hire or looking to hire people, we are really be about three pillars. The number one is bilingual proficiency. Everyone has to be bilingual. Number two, and the most important one, is the values. It sounds like a cliche thing, but yeah, we really focus for people with good values, and the soft skills should be there already. If someone is late for an interview, that's a soft skill he doesn't have, right? He doesn't appreciate your time, and it's gonna do it to your client. So that's just a real red mark, right? So right from when you're assembling your team or building your team, focus on those traits rather than if it's a Java Ninja or the best in C# or C++, right? When that can be taught and that can be perfected, and new technologies are gonna come, and he or she's gonna learn it. But if she doesn't appreciate your time, and she or he is late for the interview, that speaks louder than action, right? So that will be one of my advice.
The thing that we have to create a business culture, as Guillermo said, in all over the world, even if we are in Mexico or we are in the US or we are in Canada, because sometimes it's a joke again, but sometimes you throw garbage here for everywhere in Mexico, but you only cross the border and you are the cleanest person in the world. And this is not, the values of the Mexican, there have to be the same here in Mexico and wherever you are. So this is true. We have to create this culture, the business culture, but for our society here in Mexico, with our society in general, with our childs, with the neighbor, whatever. And this is going to be growing in the business culture. It is going to impact in the business culture here in Mexico and overseas. I think this is the point.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Well, thank you all. We ran out of time. It looked really fast to me, because this thing really, I like it, and I've been here all the time. I mean, here at the Nearshore situation. So, well, I just want to thank Angeles, Tere, Guillermo, and Eduardo for joining us. I hope you all enjoyed this webinar, and I'm sure they will be available if you have more questions, if you want to contact them, and we'll share all their information with you at the TechMex social networks and everywhere, so you can contact them. Before we leave, we just want to play another video. We leave you with that video. This is from Monterrey, Nuevo León, and Mexico. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Investors know that a suitable environment is essential for a business to flourish and bear fruit. Nuevo León is by its very nature the center of investment in Mexico, because it has a different mindset, because it has pushed the development of the nation since it was founded, because its industry is an example of innovation and tenacity at the national and international levels, Because its educational institutions, both public and private, are leaders in Latin America. Because the capacity of its people to reinvent themselves is found in all areas of public life. Because Nuevo León means potential and for more than 20 years has been the leader in Mexico in attracting foreign investment. It is the home of the most prestigious business schools in Mexico and Latin America. Infrastructure, modernity, geographic location, a long entrepreneurial tradition, and a climate of confidence that we have earned have made us into a solid option for those who are looking for fertile ground to plant their investments. By looking at the fruits, you can see the strength of the roots. So, who better to testify to our optimal environment for investment than the major corporations that have believed in Nuevo León and have made it their center for generating business throughout the world. These and many other products are proudly made in Nuevo León. Do we really have to tell you more? Take advantage of the opportunity to learn in detail everything that Nuevo León offers your project. Experience the complete logistical platform to do business in the world. To invest in Nuevo León is to know that you will succeed, because that is what we do. It's our way of life. Enjoy the view.
Business Nuevo León. Leading Success. Gobierno Independiente de Nuevo León.